To me, God represents all that is. We are made in the image of the universe. The whole environment comprising the universe. All that is. The cell engages in behavior when its brain, the membrane, responds to environmental signals. In fact, every functional protein in our body is made as a complementary image of an environmental signal. Protein did not have a complementary signal to couple with, it would not function. Every protein in our body is a physical electromagnetic complement to something in the environment. Because we are machines made out of protein, by definition we are made in the image of the environment. That environment being the universe, or to many, God. You learn from cells that we are part of a whole, and that we forget that at our peril. But I also recognize that each one of us has a unique biological identity. Why? What makes each person's cellular community unique? On the surface of our cells is a family of identity receptors which distinguish one individual from another. Another well-studied subset of these receptors, called self-receptors or human leukocytic antigens, HLA, are related to the functions of the immune system. If your self-receptors were to be removed, your cells would no longer reflect your identity. These self-receptorless cells would still be human cells, but without an identity. They would simply be generic human cells. Put your personal set of self-receptors back on the cells, and they again reflect your identity. When you donate an organ, the closer your set of self-receptors matches the receptors of the person who is to receive the organ, the less aggressive the rejection reaction launched by the recipient's immune system. For example, let's say that a set of 100 different self-receptors on the surface of each cell is used to identify you as an individual. You are in need of an organ graft to survive. When my set of 100 self-receptors is compared to your self-receptors, it turns out that we have only 10 receptors that match. I would not be a great organ donor for you. The very dissimilar nature of our self-receptors reveal that our identities are very different. The vast difference in membrane receptors would mobilize your immune system, shifting it into hyperdrive to eliminate the foreign, that is, not self-transplanted cells. In your search for a better donor, however, you will not find a perfect 100% match. So far, scientists have never found two individuals who are biologically the same. However, it is theoretically possible to create universal donor tissues when you remove the cell's receptors, though scientists have yet to carry out such an experiment. In pursuing this proposed experiment, the cells would lose their identity. These self-receptor cells would not be rejected. While scientists have focused on the nature of these immune-related receptors, it is important to note that it is not the protein receptors, but what activates the receptors that give the individuals their identity. Each cell's unique set of identity receptors are located on the membrane's outer surface, where they act as antennas, downloading complementary environmental signals. These identity receptors read a signal of self which does not exist within the cell, but comes to it from the external environment. Supporting evidence for my belief that an individual's broadcast is still present even after death comes from transplant patients who report that along with their new organs come behavioral and psychological changes. One theory about how these new behaviors become implanted into the transplant recipient along with the organ is cellular memory. That is, the notion that somehow memories are embedded in cells. You know, I have immense respect for the intelligence of single cells, but I have to draw a line here. Yes, cells can remember that they are muscle cells or liver cells, but there's a limit to their intelligence. I do not believe cells are physically endowed with perception mechanisms that can distinguish and remember a taste for chicken nuggets. Psychological and behavioral memory does make sense if we realize the transplanted organs still bear the original identity receptors of the donor and are apparently still downloading that same environmental information. Even though the body of the person who donated the organs is dead, their broadcast is still on. They are, as I realize in my flash of insight while mulling over the mechanics of the cellular membrane, immortal, as I believe we all are. Cells and organ transplants offer a model not only for immortality, but also for reincarnation. Consider the possibility that an embryo in the future displays the same set of identity receptors that I now possess. That embryo will be tuned into myself. My identity is back, but playing through a different body. Sexism and racism become ridiculous as well as immoral when you realize that your receptors could wind up on a white person, a black person, an Asian, or male or female. Because the environment represents all that is. God and our self-receptor antennas download only a narrow band of the whole spectrum. We all represent a small part of the whole, a small part of God.